This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is author Bill Hoeft, who has written a book about the Found family in Iowa City called Live Like Line and Love Like Ellyn, and the story of what happened to Caroline, also known as Line Found, and her mom Ellyn, and the entire Found family is pretty familiar to those of us who live around here. But before we start talking about the book, tell me, Bill, a little bit about your background and what caused you to what is your writing background? And
I started writing short stories for school, and I really enjoyed that. In elementary school, loved that. I really don't have a significant writing background other than my full-time job. I like to say is I'm a stay-at-home dad, so I'm also on the city council in Coralville. But when I quit teaching in 2006 to stay at home, I decided to sit down at a keyboard and start doing a little writing. I started with screenplays and for movies, and wrote a few of those, and then decided I wanted to possibly venture into book form. Kicked around for about 6 months with a few ideas. Nothing really stuck, and then all of this came, together in August with the tragic events that happened. I was as engrossed as everyone else with the media reports, and you couldn't live in the community without being impacted by it. And then with the state title run with the volleyball team, people afterwards started coming up to me and asking, "Are you going to write this? Are you going to write this?" And that's really how my initial reaction was, no, I don't handle death well, and there are deaths of two amazing people here, so that would be a real tough thing for me. But for whatever reason, I reached out to Ernie in probably December of 2011, and we started dialoguing about whether or not this would be good to put into book form.
well, it's this. People in the Iowa City, and I think all up and down the corridor, are very familiar with this. But for those who aren't, Caroline was a senior, right, at West?
She was a senior at B, coming into West. It was about a week before school started, roughly. She was in a single-vehicle moped accident and didn't survive. And then 12 days later, her mom passed of pancreatic cancer. Yeah, she was a setter, which is equivalent to a quarterback on a football team, on the volleyball team, who was coming off a state title win, and described by many, including the coach, as the heartbeat of the team. She was the leader, and as you can imagine, the team was just devastated, so they had a hard time even getting through a practice, much less thinking about into the future. It was a very, very difficult time for them.
But of course, they dedicated the season to Caroline, or Line,
right,
as she was known.
Yeah. And
they had a state title run.
They did, and that was in no small part to Ernie and the Found family, the school and the community as well. But the strength that Ernie had to get in behind that team and just support them and be at just about every game that he could, other than when he was traveling. But he was really, really a rock for them. And when they saw him at the first tournament that weekend, the first tournament that they had, and they saw him walk into the stands on the eve of his wife's wake, they started thinking, I think we can, if he can be that strong, we can be this strong. So that was really, that really started and it was a great relationship between the two. They supported him as much as he supported them. It was a really beautiful, beautiful story.
Talking with Bill Hoeft about his book, Live Like Line, Love Like Ellyn. So the Caroline portion of this story has been pretty well covered in the media.
Right.
I mean, because of what happened, the team's success, and then there was the HBO show that did a profile on it?
Yeah, Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel did a show on it, and Frank DeFord was actually the correspondent there, came to town a couple different times and interviewed the players and the coach and Ernie and many of the people that were closely associated with the story.
So, but your book, of course, doesn't just talk about Caroline. It also brings Ellyn into the story. So
right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, this book, actually, Ernie and I joke about this, half-heartedly joke, because it's the truth. This book could be 3 books. I mean, I'm covering generations of not only the Found family, but the Slocum family, which is on Ellyn's side as well. All of them are just incredible people, just one after the other, and they tell amazing stories, and they just wrap their arms around you and make you feel like family. But yeah, it's really a story about the Found family, and Ernie gave me the theme of the book when we first spoke, and he said, Bill, I can't begin to tell you how many good things have come from something so tragic, and really that's the theme, is this family. You don't get by your grief. You're not going to get over it, but to move forward in such a positive, honorable way, loving way, in the name of your wife and your daughter and everyone, the whole family just really, moved forward, even though the pain was there. They in such a positive way. It was amazing.
I think the most painful thing that you can say to someone who's experienced this kind of loss is everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And yet somehow the Found family has found good to come out of this. Yeah,
they really have, and Ernie in particular, his faith is as strong as it ever was, and that would be, I call those faith testers, and boy, that's, if anyone had a right to say, why me, look up skyward and say, why me, it was him, but he refused to do it. He remained strong in his faith, he remained strong in just being kind to everyone and representing his family members, living or otherwise, in a positive way. And that's who the Founds are. They're giving people. They give of themselves.
Was there anything in the writing or the interviewing of the book that was unexpected for you? I mean, obviously going in, you knew that you were going to tell this story of love and recovery and strength on the part of Ernie and Catherine and Gregg, the other members of the Found family. But what was unexpected?
Well, when I came into this, I didn't know, first of all, I had never written a book like this, so I really didn't know what to expect at all. So it was all, just coming in with fresh eyes. But I didn't realize how many, just one person after the other with these incredible stories that they would tell about the Founds, be it happy or sad or loving or whatever it was. And that was the most difficult part, was to be able to, once I had everything, I felt comfortable with the interviews that I had done, and I had enough information, was figuring out which of these amazing stories would make it into and that's why I say it could be 3 books, which of these amazing stories would make it in, and which...
I'm sure there was a lot. You probably left out just as much as you put in.
Yes, and I've been trying to compile some of that for Ernie, just for his personal use, some of the things that were not in the book. So he would have that and have a better understanding of, I joke with him and say, I know your life better than you do now, because, and he doesn't deny it. For the amount of, it took, I was probably 2 years just for the interview process before I really sat down and started putting it together. So.
Was that hard to sit down with Ernie and the other members of the family and as they relived all this? Extremely.
It was because I felt like every time I would go over there, I would be the cause of his tears. But his family, Catherine, his daughter, and Gregg, his son, they said that it was beneficial, and I'm hopeful that it was beneficial for him to, and somewhat cathartic, to be able to just retell the story in his way. And so yeah, that was really difficult. There were plenty of tears that we shed together, but I'll tell you one thing: there were as many tears as there were always more laughs than tears, because that's when you're around Ernie or when you're around the Found family. It's about fun, it's about enjoyment, it's about celebrating life and being friends, and you can never leave their house without them giving you, oh, look, I just made this apple cider, here, take a jug with you. Or they're always, and Ellyn was that way too. When someone would come over, she wouldn't just bake cookies for you. She'd bake cookies for you to take in a bag so you had extra. That's who they are.
If you could encapsulate everything you learned in writing this book down to a sentence, maybe not about the Found family in particular, but just about, what we all can take away from it, what would it be?
Look for the positive, even in tragic situations. Look for the positive, and sometimes it's not right in front of you, but you can find it. Good things will come, and for them, it's honoring by doing for others. That's really their go-to. But and you can honor the people who aren't with you anymore, by doing that, and always making it positive. That's really the theme of the book, as we discussed before.
Talking with Bill Hoeft, author of Live Like Line and Love Like Ellyn. Will you be out doing some appearances and signings? Can people come and meet you and get the book?
Yes, absolutely. Please forgive me for referencing my phone here. But yes, there'll be some events. I am doing an event at West High, but it is just, I'm going to go into some classes, which should be fun. That's October 16th. At the Marion Public Library on October 24th at 9 a.m., I'm going to be a panelist there. Talking about emotion and true stories and things like that. Prairie Lights, there'll be a signing October 27th at 7 p.m. I'll be on KNIA October 30th at 9 a.m. And then I'll have some Des Moines events, Beaverdale Books November 7th. And also, the University of Iowa bookstore, Wild Rose Bookstore, that is November 12th at 11:45. And then we're working on Barnes & Noble event in December in Des Moines. And then I'm looking at some Twin Cities events and possibly some Chicago events as well.
Well, the book is called Live Like Line, Love Like Ellyn, the story of Caroline and Ellyn Found. Bill, thanks for taking this on. And it was a huge, emotionally packed job, but in addition to obviously the HBO and the national and the media and stuff, being able to really tell the personal story of the family is something that I think all of us will treasure.
It was my honor. Thank you. And thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Bill Hoeft, and the book is available in bookstores and online, or you can check out one of Bill's events. Bill, what's your website if people want to make a note of any of those calendar
I have a Facebook page, Live Like Line, Love Like Ellyn. Also, my own personal Facebook page. You can go to icecubepress.com. That's where you can see most of it. The book's on Amazon or Barnes & Noble online, or Ice Cube Press. You can order it online that way as well.
All right. Bill Hoeft, thanks for being here.
Thank you.